From the basement of La Penta, this is your host, The Rock is on DePala on this Monday, February 8th, on a chilly Monday, February 8th, as we can say. Now, Super Bowl 50, as we all know, Super Bowl 50, another football season has wrapped up and is in the books, and the first 50 Super Bowls are long gone. But we got to get started with the Super Bowl, so let's just jump right into that. Now, the Broncos, I would say, they made a terrific statement. You have to admit, because going into the game, the Carolina Panthers were just an absolute juggernaut. You know, in the NFC title game, they dominated a Cardinal defense that was one of the best in the league. They outscored them 49-15, and in the Super Bowl, they were only held to a season low 10 points. So let's just talk about how great this Bronco defense is. Now, if I had to describe this Bronco defense, I would say tenacious, ferocious, and relentless. Those are the adjectives I have to say about this Bronco defense. Now, in the game, the Broncos as a team had 7 sacks, and were just getting to Cam Newton, knocking him around, making him frustrated. And this is, as football fans, we haven't seen Cam like this all year, because we've seen him on his A game, but in the Super Bowl, that wasn't the case. And just made, and they got 4 takeaways. Von Miller, the MVP, had 2 forced fumbles, 2.5 sacks. They were just bull rushing the whole Panther offensive line, though, and it just seemed like the Panthers offense didn't have a chance. They just seemed inept the whole game. In the game, Cam Newton was only 18 of 41, 265 yards. Now, granted, some of it was from garbage time, though, playing catch up, but still, holding Cam Newton, the unanimous MVP, to only 265 yards, that says a lot about this Bronco defense. In terms of the rushing, only gave up 180 the Panthers as a team only had 118 total yards. The Panthers running back Jonathan Stewart struggled mightily. Him and Newton combined had a combined 74 rushing yards, and as a team they were 3 for 15 on third down. So you knew that this Bronco defense made a stand and was going to make a point. But while watching the Super Bowl, I have to admit one thing. Watching this Super Bowl, it kind of reminded me of Super Bowl 35 between the Giants and the Ravens. Now, in the prior NFC title, and now in the conference championship games prior to that Super Bowl, the Giants, they were a juggernaut offense as well. This is when the days of Kerry Collins, Tiki Barber, Amani Toomer, and Michael Strahan in his prime. But in that conference championship game against the Vikings, though, they scored 41. They just demolished them. They outscored them 41-0, 41-0, and embarrassed the guys like Randy Moss and Chris Carter and Dante Culpepper at the time. And that's what the Panthers did in the NFC title game this past year against the Cardinals. Defeating them 49-15 and embarrassing Carson Palmer, Larry Fitzgerald, and the rest of those Cardinals teams. But in the Super Bowl, referring back to Super Bowl 35, in that Super Bowl, the Giants were just demolished by a great Raven defense. They lost 34-7. Kerry Collins didn't have a chance, and I think that was the case with this Super Bowl and Cam Newton. Because if you watched Cam throughout the whole game yesterday, he just didn't have a chance. Defenders were always in his face. Weren't getting the throws. He was airmailing some throws. He had some jitters here and there, but still, the Broncos defense just shut him down. And to know how good this this Bronco defense is, get a load of this. Now, the Broncos as a team. Now, Peyton Manning, he didn't play his best game, but I would say he managed the game. He managed the game. He didn't have a touchdown pass. Their only offensive touchdown was just, a rushing touchdown by C.J. Anderson late in the game. But he managed the game. But as a team, the Broncos had 194 194 total yards as a team. So, yeah, you gotta keep that in mind. Also, one thing I want to talk about with this is that with Cam, after the game, I'll admit, I was rooting for the Broncos. I wanted the Broncos to win, not because just more for Peyton Manning, because I'm a Peyton Manning fan. If I had to choose between him and Brady, I choose him. But after the game, I watched some of the post. I watched some of the post game, and it's just something that stood out to me with Cam Newton, and it was just that you know, in times of defeat, he just how could I say? He just seemed classless, immature. He didn't want to talk to the media. Look, listen, I get it. You lost the Super Bowl. You lost on the grandest stage of all sports. The whole world, everyone in the country and the whole world's watching. But you know what? You got to conduct yourself better. I'm sorry. You can't just be evasive with the media when they ask you questions or asking, "Oh, what could you have done? Could you have done this? Could you have done that?" You can't, because that's not how you resemble yourself. Because Peyton Manning wouldn't do that. He wouldn't. Eli wouldn't, and I know Eli wouldn't do that if he were to lose a Super Bowl. But I think Cam Newton's going to have to learn from that. I think he's going to have to take this as a learning lesson. And guys like Deion Sanders, they said it last night. This will be a learning lesson for Cam moving forward in his NFL career. And we will be back after this.